Hello, my name is Paul Stryer, CEO and founder of SpeakGeekToMe.com. Welcome to this short video on Cisco Mobile and Remote Access with Cisco Expressway. Cisco Expressway is designed specifically for comprehensive collaboration service provided through the Cisco Unified Communications Manager. It features established firewall-traversal technology and helps redefine traditional enterprise collaboration boundaries, supporting Cisco's vision of any-to-any collaboration. The primary purpose of Expressway is to provide secure firewall traversal and session-based access to Cisco Unified Communications Manager from remote workers without the need for a separate VPN client. Expressway provides highly secure firewall traversal technology that extends the organizational reach. It also provides for session-based access to the corporate network without the need for a separate VPN client. It supports a wide range of devices with Cisco Jabber for smartphones, tablets, and desktops. It also complements the BYOD strategy and policies for remote and mobile workers. The Expressway is deployed as a pair, an Expressway C with a trunk and a line-side connection to the Unified Communications Manager, and an Expressway-E deployed in the DMZ and configured with a traversal zone to an Expressway C. In this video, you will get an over-the-shoulder look at how to configure the Expressway C and Expressway-E to be used in the MRA configuration. At this point, please stop the video and restart it when you are done observing this diagram. This lab topology represents how the lab is built for this video. The red X's designate devices that will not be used in this lesson, but will be used in future lessons. Please stop the video and restart it when you are done observing the lab topology. Let's begin. In the first section of this lab, we will be entering the DNS entries required for Expressway E and C to operate within the environment. As you noticed in our lab topology, we will have 2 E's and 2 C's, and we'll be doing clustering for redundancy. While creating the DNS entries, we will not only enter the hostname entries for each device, but we also enter cluster DNS entries. We are starting the lab off with our Microsoft 2008 R2 DNS server internal to our network. Go to Start, Administrative Tools, DNS, and open your directory tree to your domain. Right-click your domain and click New Host. Enter the host name and IP address. Make sure that Create Associated Pointer or PTR record is selected and click Add Host. We just added our first Expressway C host address. Click OK to confirm the successful creation. Next, I will add the redundant C Expressway. Next, I will create 2 entries, 1 each for each of the expressways in our cluster. Now I'll enter both host names for my Expressway E's and 2 cluster entries for my E's. Next, I'm going to switch to the RDP session that is connected to my Internet DNS server. I will now create an SRV record on the Internet DNS server that points to the Expressway-E. Open your DNS administrator, find your domain, and right-click. Select Other New Record. Scroll down and select Service Location. Click Create Record. Enter _collab-edge. Enter _TLS for the protocol. To round robin, leave the priority and the weight at 0 and put 8442 in the port number. Enter the FQDN or IP address of the primary E server. Click OK to save. Click Create Record to create a second service record. Enter the same exact information again, except for enter the FQDN or IP address of the second E server. Notice the new TLS folder in the tree of the DNS and the two entries to the right. Next, I will test to ensure that service discovery works by switching to an RDP session of a workstation and using NSLookup to test our SRV records. Go to Start Run and enter CMD to open a command prompt. Enter NSLookup and press Enter. Type in set type equals SRV and press Enter. Enter the command _collab-edge dot _TLS dot domainname.com. Press Enter and you will notice that we have two expressways answered for. This is the same service location information that the clients will get when on the internet doing service discovery. Notice if I try to use the command _cisco-uds.tcp.domain.com, we do not get any information because that is an internal request, not an external request. Now it is time to go configure our Expressway E's and C's. Going to a Firefox browser, I'm going to open the E and C interfaces. In my lab, I already have favorites set up to go to these two administrative web pages, but you can put in the IP address or fully qualified domain name of the server to get to the admin web page. Since I have not yet done certificate management on this system, I will have to accept the invalid certificates. I'm also going to open a second tab and open up the E Expressway. All four expressways have been deployed. Only the secondary E and the secondary C have been configured already. The primaries have not. Logging in with the default of admin, lowercase, and Tanberg, uppercase. Notice in the upper right hand corner there is a red box with 5 warnings. These 5 warnings will be on every deployment you do of Expressway. Click the red box and it will list out all the errors that need to be configured at the beginning of a default install. The first action item in the list is time. This is where we will set up our NTP server. Click the hyperlink time and it will take us to the time page. Erase the 3 samples that are in the first 3 NTP servers and enter in any server information that you have for your corporation. For security reasons, I have covered over my IP address at this time. Select the appropriate time zone for your servers and click Save. If you watch the status, it'll say starting and rejecting for a little while, and then eventually it'll say synchronized. While we're waiting for the C Expressway to synchronize NTP, let's do the same thing to the E Expressway. Now let's switch back to our C Expressway and see if NTP has synchronized. Notice in the lower left-hand corner, we have a synchronized message. Clicking on the red alert button, we will now notice that there are 3 warning messages. The system is warning that the default password is still in place. Click Password Warning, Admin, and change the password and click Save. Next, I will change the admin password for the E Expressway. Notice for time's sake, I'm going back and forth between the E and C and making the same moves on each one. The next action warning is telling us that the CLI root password has not been changed from the default. I'm going to switch back to C and click on the message. The message only gives us the help page. To actually perform this function, I need to SSH into the CLI. In my case, I'm going to use PuTTY, which actually already has a saved setting. Click Yes to accept the invalid certificate warning. Enter the login as username of root and the uppercase word Tanberg for the default password. Type in the Linux command passwd to change the password. Enter the new password and confirm the new password and hit enter. Type exit to exit PuTTY. Click the red alarm box in the upper right hand corner to refresh the count. Now notice there is only 1 alarm left for putting in the option keys and registration keys. Now I will switch to the E Expressway, log in with PuTTY to the CLI, and change the password on there as well. On the Expressway-E, I will click the red alarm box to refresh the count, click Release Keys, and then I will switch back to the C server. Paste the release key in the release field that you received from Cisco.com and click Set Release Key. Notice after you set the release key, the yellow warning message at the top of the screen will say Restart. We will not restart at this time because we have more keys to put in before we restart. I will now switch to the E server and put in that release key. The release keys basically say you have a license to use the server. If you notice at the top, it says Cisco Telepresence Video Communication Server, which is a VCS. It's the same software when you deploy VCS as Expressway. It's the option keys that change it from a VCS to an Expressway. Next, we will enter the Expressway option key above the release key and click Add Option. Watch what happens at the top. Notice that it now says Expressway C. We also have a list of options that we have added in the middle section. Now I will add the Expressway option key to the E Expressway. Returning to the C Expressway, I will add another option key. The next option key I will add is the H323 internetworking key. Switching to the Expressway-E, I will also add the H323 SIP internetworking key. Staying on the Expressway-E, I will add the turns relay option key. Please refer to the Cisco Expressway admin guide to understand the different option keys. Not every key will be used in every installation. Earlier, when we added the Expressway key, both the E and the C became C Expressways. Now we will add the E option to this E Expressway, and notice at the top it changed into an E. Switching back to the E Expressway, I will select System and DNS. Here, I will enter the Expressway C's host address, domain name, and the IP address of the DNS server. Then I will click Save. Next, I can scroll to the bottom, select DNS Lookup Utility, enter a FQDN, and it will resolve using the DNS server. It is always good to test DNS resolution at this point. If I get the status message that you see below, everything worked properly. If I get nothing below, then the DNS lookup did not work. Now I will put in an incorrect address and hit lookup, and notice that nothing shows up below. Switching to the Expressway-E, I will set up the same DNS settings for the E server. Switching back to the C Expressway, I will select System and Clustering, and now we will set up our clustering function. Both of the secondary expressways in the lab have already been configured. We are only configuring the primaries. They have very similar configurations for both the primary and the secondaries. Once clustering is set up, all administration functions have to be done on the primary, because if you do it on the secondary, it will erase it every time we synchronize. Notice I used the clustering FQDN for my cluster name. Enter a pre-shared key and the two IP addresses for our two servers in our C cluster. Click Save, and then click the Restart button, click Restart again, and click OK. While the primary C Expressway reboots, I will go ahead and enter the same information into the primary Expressway-E server. Noticing I'm putting in the FQDN for the E server, and then the other one was for the C server. I'll put in the same pre-shared key password, and then I'll put in the IP addresses of the two E expressways. After clicking Save, I will click Restart on the E Expressway as well. To save time, I will stop the video and restart it when the rebooting is finished. Once I log in, go to System and Clustering, and we'll check to make sure our clustering is active. Notice the green indicators to the right of the IP addresses say active, and below it says active. This alarm is only letting us know that clustering has not synchronized. Once it does synchronize, it will go away. Switching to the E Expressway, we will notice that it's still rebooting. I will stop the video and restart it when it's finished. After logging in, go to System, Cluster, and let's check to make sure that this side says active. Once we confirm it's active, also notice in the upper right hand corner we also have the warning or the alarm. This will go away by itself once the cluster has synchronized. Next, we need to turn on mobile remote access. Go to Configuration, Unified Communications Manager, Configuration, select the down arrow, and you will see mobile remote access. In newer versions, you will also see Jabber Guest. Click Save. Here we are running Expressway version 8.1.1. In our Jabber Guest Lab, we will be running 8.2. Now switching to our Expressway C, we will go to Configuration, Unified Communications Manager, and Configuration, and also select Mobile Remote Access and click Save. Next we will configure a domain by going to Configuration, Domains, and click Add New. Enter your domain name, select On for both SIP registration and IM&P services, then select Create Domain. Next we will set up a link between the Expressway C and the IM and Presence server by going to Configurations, Unified Communications Manager, IM and Presence server. Click New, enter the FQDN of your IM&P server, enter a username and password, and in this case we're going to do TLS mode off. To use TLS, the IM&P server would have to be in mixed mode. I have created a user on my Communications Manager called Axel User Cup that only has administration rights to be able to access the database and not everything within Communications Manager. After clicking Add Address, the server actually connects to the IM&P server, and notice that it has found both servers in my cluster. Next I will add a link between the Expressway C and the Communications Manager by going to Configuration, Unified Communications Manager, and Unified CM Server. Once on the UCM server page, click New, enter the FQDN or IP address of the Communications Manager's publisher, enter in your username password, and in our case we will again use TLS Verify mode off. Then click Add Address. Again, the Expressway C will log into the Communications Manager, and notice that it has found both of the CUCM servers in my cluster. Next we will create a secure traversal zone between the E and the C expressways. We will be using Microsoft CA role to be our CA server. After opening a new tab and navigating to my certificate authority server and logging in, I will download my root certificate by selecting Download CA Certificate. Select Base64 and click Download CA Certificate. Click OK to save as. Microsoft CA role names all the certificates the same name, so I rename them to make sure I know which ones are which. Switching back to the C Expressway, navigate to Maintenance, Security Certificates, Trusted Certificates. Then click Browse, select the location of where you downloaded the CA root certificate, select the certificate and select Open, then click Append Certificates. Notice that the root CA certificate has been appended to the server. To have CA Microsoft Certificate Authority Server create certificates for Expressway, we need to add a template by going to Administrative Tools, Certificate Authority. Once Certificate Authority Administration is open, click the plus sign next to the domain and right-click Certificate Templates. Click Manage on the pop-up menu. We can use the Web Service template as a base for our new one. Right-click Web Service, click Duplicate Template. Keep the default of 2000 Server and click OK. Next, enter a name for the template. We're going to call ours Client Server. Next, click the Request Handling tab and click Allow Private Key to be exported. Click the Extensions tab, click Edit, click Add, select Client Authentication, click OK, click OK again, click Apply, and click OK to close this window. Close the Certificate Template console, right-click Certificate Templates, select New Certificate Template, select Client Server, and click OK. Notice that Client Server is now part of the list of templates. Let's check out what we did. Go to the tab with Certificate Manager in it, click Request a Certificate, Advanced Certificate, select the pop-down menu, and notice that Client Server is now part of the templates. But before we generate any certificates for our E Expressway and our C Expressway, let's go to the root of the Certificate Authority and select Download CA, select Base 64, and download Base CRL. CRL is Certificate Revocation List and gives us dates and times of when certificates are now expired. As always, I will rename the certificate so that it has a meaningful name. Returning to the Expressway-E, we will upload the CRL certificate to the server. Go to Maintenance, Security Certificates, CRL Management, select Browse, find the CRL certificate, click Open, and then upload CRL file. Next, we must create a certificate signing request. The CSR will be used to generate a CA signed certificate. Go to Maintenance, Security Certificate, Server Certificates, click Generate CSR. Select the common name of QFDN of Expressway. Select the subject alternate name as FQDN of Expressway cluster plus FQDNs of all peer clusters. For my lab's configuration, I will remove the I'm in presence addressing information. I will set the additional information in regards to my lab, but these settings will be set specific for your production or lab network. Enter the information and click Create or Generate CSR. Click the new Download button. Instead of Save, this time I will just directly open the certificate to show that it can be done. Enter Control-A to highlight, Control-C to copy, and close the notepad. Now we will go to our Microsoft CA tab, go back to the home page, click Request Certificate, Advanced Certificate Request, paste in the information we just got out of the certificate or the CSR, click Client Server, which is the template we just created, and click Submit. Select Base 64 and download certificate. Save the certificate to the computer and rename the certificate something that is meaningful. Returning to the Expressway C tab, we will click Browse at the bottom. We will find and select the certificate that we just created and renamed, and click Upload the certificate. Notice as soon as it uploads, we now have an invalid certificate on our Firefox and we'll have to re-accept a new certificate. Now let's set up security on our Expressway-E. Select the E tab, go to Maintenance, Security Certificates, and Trusted CA Certificate. Click the Browse button and find our CA root certificate. We've already downloaded this previously, so we don't need to download it again. Click Append CA Certificate and watch up above where you will see our list of certificates. Next, let's upload our Certificate Revocation List, or CRL. Go to Maintenance, Security Certificates, CRL Management. Click Browse and find the CRL that we downloaded for the C series. Select it, say Open, and then Upload CRL File. For the video, I accidentally hit Save instead of Upload CRL File. In real life, you would hit Upload CRL File. Select Maintenance, Security Certificates, and Server Certificates. Click Generate CSR. Select FQDN Expressway and then Expressway with peers. Enter your information for your additional information that would be specific to your environment and click Generate CSR. Click Download to download the CSR. Click Open. Enter Control-A to highlight the text. Click Control-C to put it in your buffer. Close the notepad and switch to the Microsoft CA role. Go to the root page, request a certificate, advanced certificate request, paste the CSR into the saved request, select client server, the template we created, submit, select base 64 encoding, and download the certificate. After saving the certificate, rename it to a relevant name that means something to you. Switch back to the Expressway-E, click Browse, select the certificate that we just generated, and upload the certificate to the server. Again, notice that our Firefox certificate becomes invalid and we have to accept a new invalid certificate. After uploading the certificates, we will click the Restart button, click Restart again, and click OK to accept the restart. We will do the same on the C server as well. I will now stop the video and restart it after the reboot of the servers is complete. Next, I will log back into the Expressway-E and C servers. In this next section, we will configure the secure traversal zones between the Expressway-E and Expressway C. Click the menu item Configuration and Zones, and then Zones again, and click Add New, or just New. Enter a name for the traversal zone and select Traversal Server from the drop-down type menu. Next, we will click the Add Edit Local Authentication Database and add a username and password for our traversal zone. Click New, put in a name. I will select or type in Traversal Admin and put in a password. Click Create Credentials. Close the Local Authentication Database pop-up window, enter the name that you just created in the username field, click Off for H323 because we will not use it in our lab environment. Leave everything default except for what I'm going to change here. First, select Unified Communications Server as Yes. Select On for TLS Verify mode. Enter the FQDN of the Expressway C on the other side of the traversal zone in the TLS Verify subject name. Select Force Encryption on Media Encryption mode. Select Treat as Authenticated in the Authentication policy and click Create Zone. Next, we must create the other side of the traversal zone. Switching over to the Expressway C, selecting Configuration, Zones, Zones again, and click the New button. Enter the name of the traversal zone. Enter the type of traversal zone as Traversal Client. Enter the username and password that we created on the E server. Select Off for H323. Enter 7001, which was the default port that we had on the E server. Select Yes for the Unified Communications Manager service. Select On for TLS Verify mode. Select Forced Encryption for Media Encryption mode. Select Treat as Authenticated on Authenticated policies. In the location fields, enter the FQDN of both the E expressways. Click Create Zone when you are done entering the addresses. Now we can click the zone we just created to verify that it is active. Two reasons why the traversal zone would not become active. One, because the username and password were incorrect for the traversal admin, and second, the certificates were created wrong. In our case, we have an active zone. We will also go check the zone on the side of the E. Now that the traversal zone is active, we can test it by going to the RTP session of a workstation. This can be tested by moving the workstation to the outside, where it will get the Colab-Edge service record. In my lab, the SIP-C soft phones are used to represent the desk phone. When I go offline, so does my Jabber client. We can also see that my presence indicators are correctly working. I will also make a phone call from a Jabber client just to confirm that calls are able to go through on an internal call. For the sake of time, I've already moved this computer to the internet. I'm now turning on Jabber. We can prove that the Jabber client is logged into the Expressway by going to the Gear, Help, Show Connection Status, and notice that it says Expressway in the address field. If I scroll down, I will see green check marks for the sections that are active. If I put in 3 digits of my of a search, the directory will become active as well. Using NSLOOKUP, we can test the service records. Notice that the _ Cisco-UDS will fail because we are on the internet or outside network, not on the internal. Notice that Colab-Edge SRV record will give us information back on our communications managers. Notice if I run the SRV command again, I will have a round-robin version of the SRV records. To activate voicemail on an external Jabber client, we must create a whitelist in Expressway C. If we go to the C Expressway, go to Configuration, go to Unified Communications Manager and Configurations, click the Configure HTTP link and click New. This whitelist acts as an access control list, or ACL. Put in the FQDN of the voicemail server and then give it a description and click Create Entry. Next, we'll return to the workstation that has the Jabber client connected to the external network, exit Jabber client and reopen it so it can get a new configuration. Once we get in, we will notice that we now have connectivity to the voicemail system. If I click on the gear, go to Help and Show Connection Status, scroll down, we will notice that the voicemail system is now connected, whereas before it had an error code. Also, if I click on the voicemail tab, I will notice that I have 6 voicemails waiting. I can click the play button and hear those voicemails, as well as erase them, delete them, and do anything else I would like to do with those voicemails. Again, we can confirm that we have connectivity via the Expressway by going to Gear, Help, Show Connection Status, and in the address field you will notice it says Expressway. I will now make a phone call from the Expressway connected Jabber client to a non-Expressway connected Jabber client. Now we have a connected call between an outside and an inside Jabber client. If we return to the Expressway C admin page while a phone call is up and running and click Status Overview, you will notice that we have one video call created. This is a very simple way to see how many calls are currently active. If I click Status, Calls, and then Calls, we can see there is one call event log for 28 seconds. If I click on it, we can see information about the call. We can drill down deeper by clicking on View All Call Information and see a log form of the call. Unfortunately, reading these logs are out of scope for this particular video. Thank you for watching this short video, and as always, thank you for your continued support of SpeakGeekToMe.com.